You know, quite a while ago, I met someone with a crazy story. He graduated from university and went to work many years as a banker. Not that many years, a few years. And then he just got very disillusioned with the job because it was the same thing day in and day out at the bank. He just got so tired of it that he moved back with his brother. It was a crazy thing. I just met the guy. He was a stranger. He told me his whole story, and it was crazy because he was now working in hospitality with his brother. It was a crazy story because this guy was a pretty good looking guy, and here he was just working hospitality and, you know, drying sheets, all this stuff. And then he ended up shifting over to a different place to do some of the same stuff because that one just didn't suit his taste. Just really wasn't much going on there. So it's a crazy story because it really just shows you that, you know, a lot of us as well struggle, and it's not just me. And this guy was pretty good looking, and he seemed to be, he seemed to be stuck in a rut as well. His trajectory was flat. So I find it quite interesting because you definitely see these stories of success, and these are people who become successful online or whatever else. But at the same time, you forget about those 5 or 10 or 20 years before that. I mean, YouTube's a very clean example of this. If you look at some of the most successful YouTubers in history, PewDiePie, he has 40 million plus subscribers. He spent years just working odd jobs, selling hot dogs on the street, working at a tennis court. He actually even worked as a boat operator and before he made it. Markiplier, he's another really well-known gamer. He had his own job in computer engineering before eventually he got tired of that job and did YouTube video gaming on the side until he was able to make that transition. Tyler Oakley, he spent years interning and doing entry-level work as a social media intern and also a telemarketer. And the list goes on. I mean, there's Roman Atwood as well. He's probably one of the most successful personality-based YouTube channels and prank channels. And his vlogs, he's probably the #1 vlogger of all time in terms of straight views. His vlogs get 1.5 plus million views per daily video. That's like a record. I don't think anyone comes close. And so it's just incredible to see this stuff occur. And Roman, he's this person who spent 10 plus years as a factory worker before that occurred. So what's the lesson here? It really makes me wonder. The story is kind of morbid. It's kind of sad. But at the same time, it really makes me wonder. It also gives me hope. I think you could definitely look at it in a negative way, but I personally choose to look at it in a positive way, to be positive and hope for a better future. You see, the thing is with these types of people, they still had a positive outlook on life. And if you watch Roman Atwood's vlogs, he always has a very positive outlook on life. I watched one of his vlogs, and I don't watch a lot of them, but it was a really cloudy, rainy day, and the first thing he says is, on top of those clouds, there's a bright sun. He's just a very positive guy, and I think that's one of the elements to a successful life as well as a happy life. When you study the science of happiness, there it's always good to have a positive mental attitude. And if you study like wealth creation books like Napoleon Hill, he emphasizes a positive mental attitude as well. So I think when I studied that story of the banker, it's just crazy because uh, seeing his life, it just makes me wonder, like, how can people get stuck in these ruts, and how can people get out of them? How do people become successful? And I think one thing is opening yourself up to success. You know, hypo- hypothetically, I don't think there's a chance. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe I would have constantly still strived for self improvement nonetheless, and found my way to self development. But there's a chance that if I didn't stumble across certain things, I never would. And then I would have believed that I was resigned to a certain fate. And then because of that, I wouldn't have been exposed to a bunch of other things that told me otherwise. And I would have just resigned myself and been hopeless and just thought, oh, this is my life. I'm just going to live a pretty ordinary life. There's not much I could do about it. That's a possibility. And maybe that's the possibility with that guy. So I really explored this, and I explored this concept of like despair or just defeat, or people who just, you know, they don't never transition to success. What's the difference between them and those who succeed? I think the first thing, as I mentioned, is perseverance and patience, and understanding that success can take time. So a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of successful actors, like the man who played Han Solo in Indiana Jones, or the most well-known handsome actor George Clooney, these individuals, Harrison Ford, George Clooney, they spent over 10 plus years struggling in the acting field before they succeeded. So that perseverance and that willingness to go above and beyond really eventually allowed them to succeed. For instance, George Clooney, after 10 years of struggling, he took great initiative. He even called the people who were casting for certain roles and told them, I am fit for this role. I am the perfect role. You don't have to do anything else. I'm going above and beyond to tell you that I want to audition for this role. And because of taking that initiative, he finally got that. You see, I think one of the reasons why people believe in overnight success is because arguably it happens. You know, there's a lot of young, very young actors and actresses who get very successful at an early age. But those are overpopularized by media. There's a ton of actors and actresses who fade into the distance. They were childhood actors or actresses. They had a hit show on Nickelodeon, and then they faded away. So it's overpopularized. And yes, there are some who are very successful and they get Academy Awards at the age of 18 or 21. And they get them at the age of 18 or 21, and it's just really, really young. But I think this is just the exception, not the rule. And from what I've seen, for those who succeed rather than those who kind of stagnate, I think what they do is they persevere, and they also open themselves up to opportunity and self-development. And I think that's one of those things that gives me hope. You know, a lot of the stuff I take in and you take in, we don't see those results this year or next year or 5 years from now, and it can be frustrating, you know, making these videos and getting 5 views per video, or just doing certain things, practicing meditation or exercising or prioritizing your day, or networking with people or reaching out and learning these things. The results may not happen overnight, but have faith in that, because you're constantly improving and opening yourself up to increasing your luck every day, every year, and over time those will grow. So maybe in the next few years nothing's gonna occur. I mean, sure, you should definitely look for incremental results and gains, but you still have to have patience and not be so impatient. And then the last thing I think is, uh, I I've seen a lot of people who read a lot of law of attraction books and they never see any improvement. They're still stuck at their average mediocre job or whatever. And I think there's a ton of elements to actually taking action. I think a lot of these people, they will read very vague, broad books, and it's really not actionable. It's just like, will money to come to you? Like, what does that even mean? And then they're not actually taking action on what's written. They think they are, but they're not. So uh, there's stuff like, oh, you should, do this. You should do this, this, and this. Let's just take a law of attraction book, for instance. Uh, let's say Napoleon Hill. He'll say stuff like, do this, this, and this. Like, write down your goal, specifically write it down and speak it out audibly when you wake up and when you go to sleep. Write what you will give in exchange in terms of value for that amount of money, and then naturally feel like you already are in possession of it. Most people will read that and they won't do it. Maybe they'll do it once every month, and even if they do it, it's like a broken version of it. Like, they'll half-ass it. They'll do like part of it. They'll partially write it down, or they'll just say, I want money, rather than what it actually says, which is be very specific, which with how much you want, what you will give in exchange. So those are just specific things, and I think there's a bunch of other reasons. I think, there's tons of books on all sorts of things, and yeah, I think we're all kind of learning this together. So just wanted to share with you some thoughts, and I think honestly there's a certain level of strategy that's, I think, you can only learn from surrounding yourself with successful people. And yeah, that's, thankfully you can do that in person, and I think in person is the best way. So find yourself a mentor, find yourself someone who can do this, and yeah, just do it like that. And some people say, oh, how can I even be around successful people if they don't want to be around me? What do I have to offer? It's like you do it all the time in small ways. Like, that guy might be better looking than you, but he still wants to be your friend. Why is that the case? Well, maybe it's because you're friendly, you're funny, you have other things to offer people. Or maybe that guy might have more money than you, but he really appreciates your love and kindness and affection. Or maybe this guy, even though he's really successful, he's acknowledges your hunger and drive and work ethic, which not a lot of people have. So he's willing to spend the time with you. There's a lot of reasons. So that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Of course, I do not have all the answers, but there's plenty of people who do have a ton of the answers, and they're in a ton of the books I recommend. And it's a bit of a tragedy that most people will not read these books or buy them or do anything about it. So thanks for watching. And this is one of those exclusive videos I do because I have decided not to attract the wrong crowd. I've decided not to attract the people who are, not doing so well in life and constant complainers. So this is one of those videos to address everyone. But thanks for watching. As always, like, favorite, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.